So check it out. The motherfucking saga continues. Good point. Slash moment. Slash not available yet. Not available yet. Finished the stream yesterday. Check my phone. As one does. 6 missed calls from my family doctor. Not great to see on your missed calls log. Get a call from the family doctor this morning. She says, "Hey, how are you doing?" I say, "Pretty good, pretty good." She says, "So we ran a full genome sequence on your positive stool samples. And guess what? Thanks to the animal husbandry industry, we found out that your salmonella is moderately resistant to the antibiotic that you just finished your course of over 7 days. And your campylobacter is just full-on resistant. Not immune, I guess, but resistant nonetheless." But she was like, "So we're just calling to make sure like you're actually getting better and you're actually okay." To which I said, "Yeah, I feel symptomless. The stanky leg cleaned up. My gastrointestinal issues are fine. I've been drinking these probiotics, trying to rebuild the microflora in my gut. So it's basically like, it's good that I have like no symptoms, but they told me to like keep monitoring it. And they might have to put me on a course of like different antibiotics. I can't really complain because I do think still that the antibiotics saved my life. But my first thought was, thanks for giving me those antibiotics that killed like all the good bacteria in my stomach and just let the bad bacteria propagate and colonize without having any competition anymore. I really appreciate that. You just prescribed me with an antibiotic that killed all the bacteria in my stomach, except for the ones that were causing me problems to begin with. But that, you know what? I'm still feeling good, honestly. The good bacteria is probably also resistant. I hope so, man. I've been drinking this BioK Plus stuff, right? Okay, it's a probiotic. It's kind of disgusting when you read the package. Because the drink is like 100 milliliters, and it says 50 billion bacteria in every single container. So, when you really run the numbers on that, the density of bacteria, the concentration is outrageous. I don't even want to know. What is that, like 50 million bacteria per milliliter or something like that? I get that they're small, but it's kind of disgusting to think about. But at the same time, I do appreciate it. I'm hopeful that it's helping me out. Hello, Jay. Jay, I want to talk to you. I like in a good way. But first, I need to read this comment because it's very good. "Hey, NL, I heard you've been ill. I've been away from the stream as I've been suffering from a tri-contemporaneous salmonella, campylobacter, and staphylococcus infection. You must have felt terribly. Not quite as bad as me. I was clinically dead for 3 minutes until resuscitated, but still hope you're feeling better." +2. Honestly, an incredible comment. I don't know if you spent all night writing that out to be like the perfect comment, but that's a genuine +2. Holy cow, that's a perfect comment. To be honest, if I don't get sick again, the knowledge that the bacteria I had is antibiotic resistant is actually bizarrely good news, because it means that my immune system doesn't fucking suck that bad. And instead, it was actually able to do some of the heavy lifting itself. So it's actually kind of like okay news as long as I don't have my gut be recolonized. So I'm happy to hear that I actually like still have some T cells left or whatever, some lymphocytes, some white blood cells. I do appreciate that, because the way the doctor made it sound is basically like at age 33, if you can't fight off a simultaneous campylobacter and salmonella infection, then we need to get you in for like an urgent soul read. It's just, I'm not mad, and I'm not flaming. I'm just saying, motherfuckers waited 10 days until my stool samples were fucking cultured in order to prescribe me with antibiotics. And then they fucking gave me antibiotics that the bacteria was already antibiotic resistant to. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. Thank God we waited so that you didn't give me antibiotics that would promote antibiotic resistance. Instead, you gave me antibiotics that my bacteria was already resistant to. I really appreciate the due diligence, Doc. 10,000 years of human innovation, and we barely begun to scratch the surface. Sheesh. I love sheesh. I do want to apologize to Apollo because I thought that watching Valorant was boring, but actually he joined a game and he got a team that was talking and they were telling jokes and stuff like that on open comms, and I was like, you know what? This is entertaining. He was landing headshots. His teammates were going, sheesh. They were going, hey, come over here. This is you. And then they spray. Like, I didn't know Valorant had a sheesh spray. They were like, hey, dude, come over here. Come over here. This is you. Tss, sheesh. I was like, you know, Valorant actually, it can be a little fun. Then they did ask him. They were like, you know, who's your like mentor or something like that? And he said, I only have one mentor. It's Jesus Christ. Then one of his teammates said, who's that? And another teammate said, sounds like a foreigner. And then I was like, okay, I'm out. This is getting... It's a little too close to maybe... Like, they got way too comfortable with one another. They started saying the stuff that they only say around the dinner table to their family. And I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. But like the first 6 rounds, I was like, all right. These guys are cool. Oh, man. You only stream at unemployment hours? Well, you should just get a job where you can have a second monitor up with my stream then. I will say, like, I didn't, like, let my doctor have it this morning. I was very thankful to receive the phone call. But she did say, she was like, Ryan, I called you so many times yesterday. Why didn't you pick up? And I was like, I was at work. And then she was like, I called you this morning. And I was like, yeah, that one's on me. My ringer is literally always on Do Not Disturb. I was like, oh, how fitting. I want to talk to the doctor. They're like, that'll be 6 weeks away. My doctor wants to talk to me to give me urgent, life-saving advice. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm at work. Okay. Maybe your doctor should have made a dono. Dude, so true. If my doctor gave some gifted subscriptions and said, hey, Ryan, how are you doing? We just wanted you to know that your salmonella is moderately resistant to ciprofloxacin, and your Campylobacter is like fully resistant to ciprofloxacin, then I would have been like, thanks for the gift subs, doctor. Any essay writers in chat? No, I would have been like, thanks a lot, I really appreciate it. Does your doctor know to check your stream? No, she's also at work. I mean, that's the dirty little secret, right? Everybody's at work. It's like, oh, you gotta go to the damn dentist. The dentist is open 8 to 5. You're at work 9 to 5. How the hell are you supposed to go to the damn dentist? Oh, I gotta go to the bank. The bank closes at 5. Oh, unfortunately, I also close at... I like open at 5. So what the hell am I supposed to do? You gotta take a damn day off? How about they take a damn day off and they come to my office and scale my teeth? Oh no, here we go. It's the copypasta. After almost 2 years, we finally get free Fall Guys, and he doesn't show any interest in winning. Game has become his job and his prison. The fake irritating forced what the hell makes watching him play this unplayable. Go back and watch his old playthrough of paid Fall Guys. His wins were zany and experimental. Now it's just losses. This is the perfect comment for right after a breakup. So long, my love. What the hell? Oh, you're still gonna make it. Don't cry. Little close. Little close, but... Did you add to your legacy today? That's a Kevin Durant tweet, right? Is Kevin Durant still with the Nets? As a lifetime Nets fan, I do need to, I need to know if he's still there. Yes, he is. Love that guy. He's honestly probably my favorite player. For now, I don't think he's leaving, man. It's Brooklyn. The greatest city, like the Lin-Manuel Miranda said. The greatest city in the world. I'm looking for work. He's not leaving, dude. Where did this lifetime Nets thing come from? Well, like, they created, like, a super team. So I thought, wouldn't it be funny to pretend I'm, like, a lifetime fan of this team that has basically just become an all-star team, and then, like, get an NBA championship under my belt for, like, rooting for... Basically just bandwagoning on a team that's guaranteed to be good. And then it turns out they were not that good. But now I'm pot committed to being a lifetime Nets fan for the bit. Don't swivel me. I jumped into it. I got hit by it. No, the fan! The fan! What are your thoughts on the Trump tweet about Elon? Well, I have two thoughts on that. The first one is please do not besmirch it by calling it a tweet. It's not a tweet. It's a Truth Social post. It's not a tweet because it's not on Twitter. It's on truthsocial.us.biz or whatever. Secondly, I liked it so much that I posted it in our streamer Discord, like where the streamers talk. And I always say this whenever I link anything, and the fucked up part is I always believe it. But I linked an image of it, and I said, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen. And then it got a lot of laughs, and then someone said, that's funny, but F Trump. And then I posted a photo of that classic boomer image of Morgan Freeman pointing up and going, he's right, you know. To which Chib then replied with a picture, a gif of a cat getting like stuck in a bowl of milk. And I was like, you know what? So true. So that's like the whole conversation that we had. I'm honest, I think I'm rediscovering like a new comedic style. And a big part of it is like ironic use of boomer memes. I'm not gonna make it. Oh, the greatest ball of all time. Oh, man. I was laughing. This is probably not funny to laugh at, but I was laughing a little bit. There was a post on like r/ShitMomGroupsSay that was like a Facebook post that was like, please pray for my son. He was mowing the lawn when a big piece of metal... Wait, did I not qualify? No, I was the last person to make it. You'll see, you were eliminated? I thought it said qualified, man. Oh, no, no. No, no, I'm spectating. Get me out of here! Oh, that hurts, man. I really thought we made it that time. Anyway, the post was like, please pray for my son. He was mowing the lawn when a big piece of metal came off the lawnmower and sliced the top of his leg. He's lost a lot of blood and has already passed out 2 times, but I can't take him to the hospital because I'm looking after 2 other kids. And it was like, please keep him in your prayers tonight. And I was like, lady, you gotta load up, you gotta get a damn Uber X or something and take this kid to the hospital. Or or just call 911. That's another very accurate point. That's probably an emergency, yeah. I'm not saying I 100% believe it. By the way, thank you to all the tips on the subreddit for how to actually navigate Am I the Asshole without experiencing fake posts nonstop. Apparently what you're actually supposed to do is just go to the Am I the Asshole subreddit, not the filtered subreddit. So I do appreciate that. They're still gonna be fake. Yeah, I'm done with filtered though, man. Filtered was like... Filtered is just, they filtered out the real posts and only gave me the fake posts. Filtered we no longer have a purpose for it. I will say, I always thought in Canada, and this is not the case to the best of my knowledge, as somebody who's actually taken an ambulance a few times, I always thought we still paid for like ambulance and fire truck out of pocket, but I thought there was like a court that like determined whether or not it was actually like a real emergency. Because, like, one time, like, I've mentioned this story a few times, but one time I called the fire department in college because we were in our, like, basement and everybody smelled burning plastic. So we said, let's call the fire department. And then they sent, like, a bunch of fire trucks, which I specifically asked them not to do, but I do understand, like, their protocols and stuff like that. Oh! Anyway, I was talking to my mom after, and I was like, well, I don't know if we're going to get, like, a bill from the fire department because they sent 3 fire trucks to our house with the sirens on and stuff like that. And then my mom was like, yeah, they'll probably give you a bill. And then I never got a bill. And similarly, I've had to take the ambulance with Kate a few times due to like unexplained stomach pain. One time we had boarded an airplane, but we were still on the jetway. And then she said, my stomach hurts so bad, like I can't fly. So we deboarded from the airplane, talked to the gate agent, and we're like, hey, we need like an ambulance to take us to the hospital immediately. It was like out of a damn movie. Then like paramedics came into the terminal and like an ambulance drove up onto the tarmac, and we like went out the jetway onto the tarmac into the ambulance, and then like drove through the runways to get back on the highway and stuff like that. And that's we all did not receive a bill. That must have cost like the taxpayer like $100,000. But I guess it's good in order to not have people be like, I think I'm dying. Should I call an ambulance? I guess it's good to be like, yeah, you never have to pay for it. Was she okay? Well, like she got pain relief at the hospital and then had a bunch of like diagnostic tests that never turned anything up. But then like 2 years later, she was talking to her mom and was like, hey mom, like I've been having really bad stomach pain. And her mom was like, oh yeah, I had that when I was your age. Eventually it just went away. And then, wouldn't you know it, that's exactly how that shit went down. But like it would have been kind of nice of my mother-in-law to mention that a little earlier into the situation, because she had like a sigmoidoscopy and stuff like that, and a bunch of like imaging tests done and stuff. Like, I don't know what a sigmoidoscopy is. You know, it's like a colonoscopy, but it's like a different tube or something. Maybe I think they go a little higher up. They go to your sigmoid colon, whatever that is. I didn't even know I had a sigmoid colon. Is that like a semicolon? Some information that would have been useful yesterday. Very true. Very true. The wedding singer. Very true. Thanks. Thanks for that. I really appreciate it. We don't have to grab each other. We could all just be having a fun time. Okay. How do you feel about learning programming? Honestly, learning programming was like some of the best money I've ever spent in my entire life. Even though I've never actually programmed as a professional, it introduced to me a pursuit that I greatly enjoyed, and also taught me the value of problem solving in a different manner than I have ever done it before in my entire life. It opened up a section of my brain that I had never really like thought about before. Like I thought that because I wasn't necessarily, I mean, I was good at math, but I wasn't like interested that much in math in high school. So and horrible at engineering. So I gaslit myself into believing that like my brain just didn't work for computer programming. And then after like my 4th programming lesson, when I could actually write like a statement and execute it, I was like, wait a minute, this shit is like hidden like a deep spot in my brain. I'm not saying I'm the best programmer on earth by any stretch, or even a good one, but I was like, wait a minute, I sort of understand this. Because I think in a way, I'm actually kind of stupid. Like if my wife tells me to do something and it's not like one step, she's not like, place this in the garbage can. If she's like, can you clean the house? I'm like, what the hell? That's like 20 steps. I don't know what they are. I'm scared. I'm just gonna putter around and like try to do my best at it, I guess. But in programming, I finally learned that every big problem is actually just a collection of very, very reasonable, smaller problems. It's programming is all about like, I want to make something big. Let's break it down conceptually into the smallest possible steps, and then just complete every step, and then you've made the big thing. That's probably a little too forehead, but like, it taught me a new way to like think about problem solving that has actually served me well in real life, quite frankly. Not like, I'm not saying I've made more off my programming lessons than the programming lessons made off me, but it wasn't lessons. I don't know why I'm describing them as lessons. I mean, it was school. It wasn't like I had like a one-on-one with Bjarne Schaarstrup and he was like, here's how you fucking write an application in C++. It wasn't so bad. You had a hot professor? I did have a professor who had a chili pepper, but it was very... I was laughing a little bit because I always went to like rate my profs to figure out which teacher I wanted to get for night school. And then there was a teacher who had like 9.7 out of 10 and the chili pepper. And I was like, well, of course I'm taking a class with this hot ass dude. And then I got to the class and it was literally like a 74-year-old man with like with the George Costanza hair. And I was like, that's funny. Somebody's clearly executed a bit there. Hey, as a 33-year-old man, I feel like I do want to say, I feel like a website like Rate My Professor can't really be taken seriously as long as it still has the chili pepper. That is like, is this teacher hot? That's not something you need on the web. That's a Web 1.0 feature. You don't need the chili pepper anymore. They got rid of it. That's very sensible. I don't think we need... I mean, they're educators, you know? They didn't need to have the chili pepper there, man. That's juvenile. Was that for real there? It sincerely was. And this, like, the chili pepper still existed as of, like, 2015. So it's not like they eliminated it 10 years ago. Just maybe, like, 7 or 8. Rate My Professor's a great website, though. I had a horrible professor, dude. I mean, like, I had a lot of really good and really decent ones. I'll never begrudge a decent professor, especially in night school. They're just, like, they're living their lives, man. And then, like, they come in for a lecture from, like, 5:30 to 8:30 on Tuesdays. Like, if they're half-assing it, I'm like, fair enough. I probably would too. But I had some horrible professors in night. Well, I had one horrible professor. Like, all he would do, I don't even remember the class, to be honest. I think it was supposed to be like advanced application development using C# and .NET. But, like, he never actually had us, like, do anything. He would every class we went to, he would just talk to us about, like, how he was a serial entrepreneur. And, like, what his next startup idea was and stuff like that. And we were just like, I'm paying $500 for this course. I'm learning, like, actually nothing. Like, I'm basically, like, he would write, like, the assignment that he would write on the board is, like, you know, connect your application to Azure using your Microsoft account. And then we would do, it's a 3-hour class. We would do that, and then he would talk about how, like, you know, like, oh, when he first started his career, he was in Silicon Valley. And, like, you wouldn't even believe the kind of venture capital money that was flying around. And I'm like, okay, dude, I'm trying to fucking figure out how to, like, fizzbuzz here. I don't really care that you, like, were one of the first 750 employees at Yahoo. Like, any askers in the class? I don't think so. I'm just gonna say it. This shit is too long. Hey, Chili Pepper, any askers? I hate profs that talk about their lives. Like, who gives a shit? I think it's just if you have 10 minutes left at the end of class and somebody asks a question about, like, how would you use this in the real world, and the professor uses their life experience to explain it to you, that's great. You'd be like, actually, thanks for the intel. But I mean, I had one professor who was like, I don't know, he was just grumpy all the time. And you're like he's teaching a class full of, like, 30-year-old adults. And he's treating us like we're, like, 15-year-old kids that are just trying to get out of doing the homework when actually we're just asking questions. But he would always talk about how, like, oh, if you could get away with that on the assignment and it would work, but I'm going to mark you down because that would never work in enterprise. I'm like, how do you know, motherfucker? You've been working at this school since, like, 1995. You want to tell me you know what it's like to, like, work at Salesforce in 2017? You've been in academia for, like, your entire life. Like, that shit might fly when you're teaching 18-year-olds because they don't have the same kind of, like, life experience. But you're talking to adults here that have jobs. Like, you're... well, kind of, in my case. But... like, it's just not a good excuse. It's like you can tell, like, if you're a kid's parent, you can... and they ask why they have to do something, you can get away with a couple, like, because I said so's. But if you're talking to another adult and you're like, hey, can you do this? And they say why, and you say because I said so, like, I mean, that's not gonna work for you, man. You're dealing with a fellow adult here. Let me give you a little secret about most teachers. Whoa! Teachers are just like adults, like, living their lives. Mostly, like, if you think a teacher in high school has, like, a vendetta against you, I think there's like a 5% chance that you're right. And a 95% chance that you have just made them into a mortal enemy for no reason. And as soon as they go home, they turn on Survivor. And they forget that you exist. They're literally just like, oh, thank God my workday's done. So I can like spend 3 hours tonight reading 30 essays on the same thing. And then have like a glass of white wine and go to bed. But the students are like, oh, Mrs. Robertson. Here's to you, Mrs. Robertson. You're my mortal enemy, you know. Like, it's just the same thing. Like, even when I taught ESL, I would have like 8-year-old kids that, like, every time I walked into the class, they were like, I'm gonna, like, it's me versus you. And I'm like, kid, I don't even care, like, who you are. I'm never gonna see you again after 2011. Are you crazy? Like, life's too short to get, you know, involved in these weird petty vendettas. I actually have like no clue like what your home life looks like at all. Like I see you for an hour 3 times a week. It's not that serious. Can you just say I'm fine, thank you, and you, so we can both like get a gold check mark on our report cards? Overall, did your students like you? Young students, like, you know, kindergarten to grade 3, grade 4, not really. Older students, grade 6 and up, yeah, I would say. I'm not a good, like, early childhood educator. Because I have a deep voice, I don't have that kind of demeanor that, like, little kids really like. I'm a lot better at it now, because obviously, like, I have my own child. But, prior to having my own child, I mean, I'm not an enthusiastic guy. Holy cow, I love tail tag! I hate tail tag. Get me out of here. 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 I grabbed him. He got up in a second and was like, I'll take it back. But like once kids, especially once the kids had like a good grasp of English. I mean, I was a completely acceptable teacher if like you're 12 years old or older and just were like, as long as you can have a shared idea with the kid that is like, we're both in here to spend 50 minutes in the class, do what we need to do and then get the hell out of here, then it was no problem. But when you got kids that are like 8 years old, I don't even blame like the 8-year-olds because they're 8. But like they're a little crazy, right? Like they're running around the damn classroom. You get like impulses as an 8-year-old. You'll just be like doing your work and then you'll like punch a kid in the shoulder just to like, you're like, my brain told me to. I'm not good at that stuff. Or at least I wasn't good at that stuff 10 years ago when I was like 21 or 22. But now that I, like, you know, have a child, you have to get good at it. But you don't have to get good. Like, to be a good teacher without having any experience as a teacher, I had to get good at that shit in, like, a day. You walk into the classroom and they're like, you gotta figure this shit out immediately. As a parent, you learn it day by day, you know? It's like programming. You break a big problem down into smaller chunks. How many kids do you send to the principal? I don't know. I probably sent like 1 kid a month to the principal. Sometimes it's just got to be done. I didn't do it for pleasure. Because like when you send a kid to the principal, it reflects poorly on your own ability to manage the class as a teacher. But there's sometimes where a kid would just like kind of lose their mind and you would be like, well, the only thing you respect is if like somebody is going to tell your parents that you're not behaving in school. So guess what? I'm not calling your parents because, again, we don't have a common language. So I got to send you to the damn principal's office so that she can call your parents. There's a lot of stuff that, like, the education system at the school that I worked at needed, I think it needed a philosophical change. There was no reason that I should have, like, we used to have, like, an hour lunch break, and I worked 3 to 10, so my lunch break was at, like, 8 p.m., Then, like halfway through my tenure, they changed it to a 20-minute lunch break, and I had to spend the 40 minutes that I previously had as a lunch break calling children that had class with me earlier that day and being like, you know, I'd call up like a 40-year-old Korean lady and be like, hello, is Jenny there? And then wait like a minute to figure, they're like, who's this guy calling my little child? And then I'd be like, I'm from the school. And then I'd hear like, hi, Ryan, teacher. Hi, Jenny. Have you eaten dinner? Yes. What did you have for dinner tonight? And then just like hear Korean like whispering in the background. And then like a second later, I hear like, pig meat. And I'm like, oh, that's called pork. And she's like, yes, Ryan. So, like, this information is just, like, never going to stick in her brain. Just an extreme waste of everybody's time. Also, why the hell you got like your 8-year-old Korean kid like at 8 p.m. receiving phone calls for English lessons? Like they don't have enough shit to do on top of like all the other schooling that they're in. Like they can't have 5 minutes to just like be a kid. Anybody who's worked in like the Hagwon experience will relate to this. No, most people don't know this. The hardest time, like the most stressful time to be a Korean student is not like near the end of high school when you apply for university. It's not near the end of university when you're going to be applying for jobs. It's actually when you're like 11 and 12. Because then you're leaving like the elementary school system. You have to qualify for like the best possible middle schools that then prepare you for high school, that then prepare you for university. But it's like, it's almost like when you're 11 and 12, if you make it through that, it's almost downhill from there. Like you got past the hardest part. Like I would talk to my students and I'd be like, what's your average night like? And they would be like, well, like I'm 12 years old and I go to bed at 1 a.m. And then I wake up at like 7 and I go to public school all day. I go home and eat like a snack and then I go to private schools all night. Then I go home at 8 and I do my homework from public school. And then I do my homework from the private school. Thanks for the grab, by the way. This is why we can't have nice things. And I'm like, you know, like, I mean, what do you want me to say? You're 12. That's crazy. That's more work than a 12-year-old should be doing, in my opinion. As much as I've made the case that, like, I do think, you know, at least my experience in the Canadian public system... Oh, I hit a fan, I see. My experience in the Canadian public school system is that, like, the kids could be doing more work. Not to be, like... I'm insane? Not to be malevolent, like, oh, those kids are having free time. But rather, like, just for their own, like, academic development, you could probably be doing a little bit more work when you're, like, 10 years old. Korea is, like, the opposite. Like, it's crazy. They got those kids working way too hard. Someone in chat also said they got, like, that's harder than anybody should work, and that's absolutely true. Nobody should be on, like, you know, 18 hours a day, but especially when you're, like, 11. Like, I mean, you're 11. The flip side is, and both Kate and Kate's sister echo this, because Kate's sister moved to Canada. She was like maybe 14 or 15, and Kate moved here when she was like 10. They were like, literally, I didn't have to do anything when I came to Canadian school, and I was the smartest kid in my class by like an order of magnitude. Just because Korean elementary school trains you to be in the fucking, you're in a damn cage match, and then you come to Canadian school and you're like, oh, you finished your like 6 times tables, here's a word search, you know, enjoy. My wife moved here at age 13, same experience, no doubt. I mean, like, it's, I don't want to say it's easy because like it's different for everybody, but it's definitely easier than like I mean, the Canadian public school. Like, some of my students in Korea, in, like, 6th grade, they were learning calculus. Not, like, advanced calculus, but we didn't even have a calculus class offered to us until we were in 12th grade. And then, like, I don't know if they actually did it, but at the last time I checked, they were talking about actually taking calculus off the curriculum. Which, for the record, I don't work as an educator, there might be a good reason for that. That maybe you learn it all in university anyway if you go to a science or a math-focused program. But, like, it definitely struck me as, like, 2 countries with very different philosophies on education. I remember I had a private lesson. Like, sometimes we would have classes at the school that were just, like, one-on-one. And it was, like, a 13-year-old kid that lived in New Zealand for, like, 6 years and then moved back to Korea. I was teaching him a lesson about World War II. I did a bunch of research about, like, Rommel and the campaign in North Africa to teach him the lesson. Like, 5 minutes into the lesson, he was like, teacher, I know all this. And I was like, okay, I don't know. It's silly me. I didn't think the average 13-year-old would know that much about the North African campaign in the Second World War. But I guess, you know, they just, I mean, this is not the average 13-year-old. Dude, someone in chat reminded me there was another post on ShitMomGroupsSay that got me laughing. It's part of a theme on that subreddit. There's a few different genres of posts. You know, my kid has a fever of 104, but I don't trust doctors. What should I do? And then like lots of comments that are like, go to a doctor. But then there's another genre. Well, there's another genre below that, which is like, my kid loves driving. That for some, like, I let my 3-year-old drive my car. But then there's another one that's like, hey, I found like a used condom in my husband's pocket, but he says that he just jerked off into it at the bathroom at work. Can somebody tell me if I'm crazy to believe him? So in that, and there's a number of posts like that, but in this one, it was my husband, I found a charge on my husband's credit card for a massage parlor in town. He claims that he just wanted a massage, went in there, and then at the end of the massage, the lady tried to give him a hand job, and he said no, and she said it's only an extra $120, and he said, no, I love my wife. So then she was there, and she was on Facebook. She was trying to convince like a sleeper agent to go into the massage parlor and see if his statement about the price of the hand job was actually correct. She was like, I will pay for your massage if you go to the massage parlor and tell me how much they charge for a hand job. So I think this is, I mean, there's copium, and then there's, oh, that is true. I feel like if it's a legit massage, well, I guess she knows it's not a legit massage parlor, but like she should feel comfortable going in herself if it's legit. But I guess that's a good point. She already knows it's not legit. I was on a perfect run too. Holy cow. Whatever. I mean, some of the posts are just sad. Like, obvious. I mean, even that post is like a little sad for sure. But something can be sad and humorous at the same time. Like Punch Drunk Love. What's your take on parents that let their teenage kids drink a bit to avoid them going crazy when they're older? I don't know. I haven't built up a philosophy on that. That's a tough question. I don't know how I'll feel about that when I'm, you know, 47 or whatever age I'll be when it might be relevant for me. I don't know. I do feel like, I mean, I have two conflicting thoughts in my head. And I say this as somebody who does drink. One thought is alcohol is poison and nobody should ever drink it ever. That thought is not really based in the real world. That's based in like a perfect world where people have no negative emotions they feel like they have to hide away from. So that's not really based, that's not a fact-based prescription for life, I think. My other thought is that everybody I know who had an unhealthy relationship, or at least most people I know who had an unhealthy relationship with alcohol in college, were the people whose parents were super strict and said, like, under no circumstances can you ever interface with anything that we don't deem to be acceptable. So I do feel like maybe having your parents around to model a healthy relationship with alcohol is a sensible thing. But I do think it's a prickly topic for sure. Because I don't really want to have like a bunch of 17-year-olds over at my house, underage drinking, and like, without becoming an Am I the Asshole post, like making me liable for whatever shit goes down, like, on my property. But at the same time, I would like to model a healthy relationship with alcohol for my own child. So it's, I don't know. I feel like if your kid's like 18 and they're living at home, you have like a glass of wine with dinner or something like that, and be like, hey, this is how like you should probably think about this. Maybe don't have like your first 100 experiences with alcohol be drink as much as you can, as fast as you can, as cheap as you can, and get into trouble. What about at like 15? I don't know. I think maybe on like on a special occasion when you're 15, you could have a glass of wine or something like that. I mean, I didn't drink in high school because I wasn't that cool, but definitely, like, I don't know, most people do. And when they drink, they don't drink a glass of wine. You know, they drink like, I don't know, they're in high school. They probably drink like 4 White Claws and go crazy or something like that. But, you know, I don't think it's necessarily that any more harmful for them to have a glass of wine or so, or a beer or something with dinner. Not every night, but like, you know, maybe special occasions. But this is all hypothetical because I plead the fifth to avoid incrimination. There is like there's like a law within a law, right? That's like, it's illegal to drink underage, but like if you're over a certain age, your parents can supply you with alcohol and it's not illegal or something. It's all right. I'll check on that in, you know, fucking 2037 or whatever. What's your take on when kids should be allowed to swear? I mean, I'm in danger of being the most base parent of all time. The problem with swearing is that I don't really care if my child swears. My wife and I swear. It's not a sign of like moral degradation to use swear words that are not like slurs. Who cares? They have their place. The problem is that you don't want your child to swear around other kids and be like the kid who swears. So I think in a perfect world, I really would not care if my child swore at home if I could communicate that you only say those words at home and you don't say those words at school, at daycare, whatever. But I don't think it's realistic that like a 5-year-old child is going to adhere to that. That's the kind of shit that people say when they're like, well, if I was a parent, I would just feed my kid like the healthiest meal of all time every day. You know, like that's just no plan survives contact with the enemy, right? Like when you live in the real world, sometimes you got to make compromises. So I think we're going to try not to swear. And I mean, we've been doing it already. We're going to try not to swear in front of our daughter. Eventually, she'll be introduced to swear words. And hopefully when that happens, she'll be at an age where we can communicate effectively and be like, don't say those outside of the house, please. But she'll probably, I wouldn't be surprised if she ends up saying them outside of the house and then getting in a little bit of trouble. I mean, kids get in trouble all the time. I'm not that concerned about it, you know? You use it as like a teaching opportunity. You know that like, oh, so we have this Baby Shark pen that plays songs when you like point at something in an associated book. So it plays Ring Around the Rosie, but it doesn't say Pocket Full of Posy. I don't know if it's like, if the lyrics have changed when I was sleeping or something like that. But now it says, ring around the rosy, red, red rosy. Like, I don't know if, because they're trying to get it to no longer be associated with the bubonic plague or something like that. PC culture's gone too far, man. Shit was 700 years ago. Let's get over it. Up yours, woke moralists. What about ashes, ashes? No, then, so it goes, ring around the rosy, red, red rosy, jump, jump, we all fall down. So it's like almost not even the same song. It's, I gotta say, she loves it though. She does the jumping part. It's got nice like actions associated with it. White wine and beef is crazy, to be fair. I'm just gonna be honest. I know I'm farming a lot of base here. I don't know if I buy all that like wine and food pairing stuff. You know, like says who? Like you can't have red wine and fish? What if the fish has like a demi-glaze on it? You can't have white wine and beef? Well, what if the beef has like a... What if the beef is like, it has a garlic sauce or something like that? They don't pair well together? Says who, though? Like, Paul Giamatti in Sideways? Like, who died and made him the only dude on Earth with taste buds that we trust? I'm just saying I don't buy it, man. I'm not saying I mean, like, here's the thing. If I was having a nice meal, and I had people over, and it was fish, and all I had was red wine... Well, if I was a guest, I would be like, yes, please. I'll have some red wine, please. If I was a host, I might go to the liquor store and buy another bottle. But the host has different rules, unfortunately. I'm not saying that's how it should be, but I'm a very happy guest. I wouldn't, if I was a guest at a dinner party and they were like, oh, sorry, I know we're having beef, but we only have white wine. I would be like, I don't give a shit. As a host, I would be like, oh my God, guys, I'm so sorry. I know I'm serving beef Wellington. I slaved over the stove all day for this beef Wellington, but all we have is this white Zinfandel. If you want to leave, I understand. What if you were a guest and they offered you a shower beer? I think I would take the shower beer, honestly. I would never drink a shower beer of my own volition at my current age and place in life, i.e. happily married. No offense, but if I was a guest in somebody's house and they were like, hey, here's a beer for the shower, especially if I was like overseas, I would be like, I guess that's just how they do it here. A shower beer. Plus, I feel like you're more free from judgment, right? Because they'll be like, whoa, you had a shower beer? That's weird. And I would be like, no, I had a shower beer in Croatia. And they'd be like, oh, that must be the way they do it in Zagreb. Holy shit. In Zagreb, they don't think you're clean unless you drink a beer in the shower. You read any books in the Old Testament? No joke, I'm listening to an audiobook that's like the great courses understanding the Old Testament. It's not because I'm religious, because I genuinely am not, but I got so fed up with all these Sporcle quizzes that would drop like one religion question on you, and I would be like, I don't know. Name the person who's considered the father of Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. And I would be like, I don't know. Paul of Tarsus, and people would be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Well, now I know that I'm stupid, and the answer is Abraham. You know, I'm slowly expanding the breadth of my knowledge a little bit. Like, not a lot, but a little bit. I just wanted the slice of the hammer. I guess that's not allowed anymore. They should write a newer testament. They should write a newer testament with like a cool Jesus. Like a Jesus that uses a vape pen or something like that. Like, it's time, right? It's called the Book of Mormon. All right. I haven't gotten to that part of the course yet. I choose not to respond. Dude, I need to read the Truth Social post. It makes me laugh so hard. When Elon Musk came to the White House asking me for help on all of his many subsidized projects, whether it's electric cars that don't drive long enough, driverless cars that crash, or rocket ships to nowhere without which subsidies he'd be worthless, and telling me how he was a big Trump fan and Republican, I could have said, drop to your knees and beg, and he would have done it. What an incredible post. Holy cow. I love it. Electric cars that don't drive long enough, driverless cars that crash, and rocket ships to nowhere. All heavily subsidized, without which he would be worthless. I could have said drop to your knees and beg, and he would have done it. It's such an insane, but all, you know what it is? It's actually like, oh my God. It's like a redo of Tyler 1 talking about Ludwig. I'm not flaming, I'm just saying. I'm not saying you have to hand it to him. But I think when I saw the post, the Twitter caption was, holy cow, he's still got it. And I don't know, it's just the perfect caption. You seem like a good dad. At the risk of foreheading you, I actually think like being a good dad to a toddler is like pretty simple. Easy maybe is not the right word because it does take a lot of effort, but it's actually like, you don't have to be a rocket scientist, which is why I get so annoyed when I'm at the park and there's dads look, I don't want to make this a dad versus mom thing. I would say the moms are on their phone a lot, but I would also say the moms are probably looking after the kid a little more, and probably just having the slightest bit of human conversation probably feels like you need that in order to keep your mental game strong. But like when I'm at the park and I see a dad who's on his phone for like a minute straight and his little toddler is just running around like going crazy and almost getting hit in the face by swings and stuff like that, I'm like, literally you just have to put your phone in your pocket and talk to your kid, idiot. Just like it's actually like so easy. Just talk to your kid. Your kid is like 1.5. Talk to your kid and be like, hey, do you want to go on the swing? And then the toddler will go like, mama, mama, and then you'll go, okay, let's go on the swing then. And then you push your kid on the swing and like make sure they don't sustain any more physical injuries than is necessary, because they're gonna sustain physical injuries. Like, kids just do be getting hurt, like, on the regular. Because they don't know, like, how to move around safely and stuff like that. They're always bumping into shit. It happens all the time. What if it's their stepkid? Don't try to get me in a catch-22. I grabbed the streamer. Lol, dude. Insane lol. And look at how tilted he got after I did it. Well, guess what, kid? I'm not writing you a letter of reference. I see you in the DMs. Hey, been a big fan of yours for a long time. Hoping to get a letter of reference for this job interview that I'm... No. Get ghosted. Ask a teacher. I've seen your true nature. Does that really happen? No, I just made it up. It's never happened to me in my entire life.
Do they want to see the UFO?
Do they want to see the UFO? Oh, yo! Hello! Ruka's in the cat carrier.
Can you see?
Yeah.
Can you see?
He's right there.
He's squirming. He's saying hi.
He's saying hi. I mean, obviously, they're saying he's Among Us. He looks like Among Us. Ruka, you're okay, buddy. You're just going to get groomed because you keep getting little Klingons on your fur. Nobody's trying to be like a Ruka hater. Everybody here loves you. He longs for freedom. Yes, that's true. Don't worry, he's okay. He's all right. Ruka, have fun, okay? Narrator voice. He is not gonna have fun, but that's okay.
Can you stop squirming so hard?
It does feel like I don't even. It feels like an ab workout when he's in the backpack, because he's rolling around so much. You gotta like tighten your core to neutralize the movement.
I'm gonna fall.
He is a little crazy. Khajiit has wares if you have coins. You see the trailer for the Rob Zombie Munsters movie? No, I did not. And if there is a God, I would like to think that I never will. I don't think I've ever seen a Rob Zombie movie, honestly. I know that people like House of a Thousand Corpses reasonably well, and do not really like any of his horror remakes, but I kind of just see him as like a more macabre Tim Burton. What's the best kind of cupcake? I'm going to say something that is not going to make me popular amongst the people watching this who have the palate of a 10-year-old. Cupcakes are not my favorite dessert. The icing to cake ratio is too high. There's too much icing. I'm not anti-icing. It's simply that when there's so much icing, it just doesn't feel satisfying to eat. The mouthfeel and the bite quality is bad. I'm not against a sugary, fatty dessert, but a cupcake is like, I just find them unsatisfying to eat. And just eating a mouthful of like raw icing with sprinkles on top of it is not my idea of a good time. Just take off half the icing? Why don't they just make it with like less icing? Like I'm kind of a psycho. I'm not like your normal Twitch chatter. Oh my god, they spawned another 1-2 for us. Like if someone's a professional cupcake maker, I, like a fool, am like, hey, professional, serve me the cupcake the way you think is best to be served. And then they serve me a cupcake with 4 inches of icing off the top of it, and I go, this tastes like dog shit. And then they're like, well, why don't you just scrape off half the shit that we gave you? And I'm like, well, why don't you just make it taste good? You know, it's a toxic situation. You mean seal? No, I meant squirrel. They're asking me why I don't give chocolate to the squirrel. I don't give chocolate to the seal because the seal's at level 3. It refuses it. You meant squeal? No, now that Josh says I meant seal, I know that I meant squirrel. Anyway, whatever. We got a 10-piece. Why are you trying to drag me down? Hold on. Who wrote this comment originally? I'm scrolling. Squirrel Lamau. We're getting there. Said word wrong twice. Hold on. I'm making a mod note. You're lucky that this person, Gibson versus the world, left 75 lulls in like VOD chat. Okay, so now I'm going into Gibson versus the world's accounts. And I am putting a moderator note. Manage suspicious user. Okay, just give me a... I'm making the screen larger. I'm making the pop-out window larger. And I'm going to manage suspicious user. I have placed you... Gibson versus the world. I have placed you under a monitor. I don't know what that means. But I have sanctioned you. Your ass just got sanctioned, okay? I actually think that it might be a negative for me because I think that it means that every message you make will be highlighted, which seems to be what you wanted to begin with. But either way, get sanctioned. You just got sanctioned. And I gotta be honest with you, it felt damn good. That's a check. That might be a check. Hold on, though. Hold on, though. If you don't put me in check, I got plays. Pre-move it. Just pre-move it. I don't care. They're gonna block it. We pre-move it. I don't think they can stop it anymore. Pre-move it? They stopped it? They took my queen? Oh! What a dishonorable victory! What a horrendous way to win! Oh, man, oh, man. But that queen trap, though, dude, I gotta see. That was such a cool way to get out of that jam. I'm 1400. The games aren't gonna be perfect. No brilliancies? That was a brilliancy, man.